How's it going, Yankee fans? Welcome back to Fireside Yankees. You got the whole team in the studio, in the lab right now, Alex, Ryan, and Sam. We are chilling, and we want to do a little State of the Union address on this Yankee team. The vibes, not so immaculate, I have to say, but nonetheless, we are hoping that things can turn around quickly. I know without Aaron Judge, it looks feeble. It's disgusting. It's ugly. It's disappointing. This team looks like a shell of themselves. We are overpaying veterans to do essentially nothing, and our reserves suck. I mean, we have some prospects doing well in the minor league systems, but Willie Calhoun's still hitting, and IKF's still on this roster, and he's below on-base percentage, below 30%. And, this team has a lower on-base percentage than the Oakland Athletics, they actually may be historically one of the worst teams ever this season. So you tell me, team kind of sucks right now. And without Judge, it is just ugly. But Ryan, I'll let you kind of get your thoughts in here. And how you doing today, my friend?
Yeah, no, right now it's not looking great for the Yankees, mainly because, when the roster isn't healthy, you're not going to play very well, right? I think we're all aware of the fact that you get Judge, you get Bader back, and the offense is going to look better. Like, I don't think we're sitting here and saying that an Aaron Judge-led Yankee team is incapable of winning games. We've seen how they play when Aaron Judge is in the lineup, but the issue is when you don't have Judge in the lineup, which is the situation you're currently in, you're not going to be playing very well. And the American League is very competitive in that wild card race. Thankfully, the Yankees have, benefited from the fact that, number one, they've played well enough with Judge that they've built a little bit of a cushion in the sense that, they're, I believe, 2 games up on the Blue Jays in the loss column. They're also 2 games up on the Angels in the loss column, and they're a game up on the Astros in the loss column. So they're the second wild card team. But, that's still 2 games, right? Can the Blue Jays outplay you by 2 games while you don't have Aaron Judge for an undisclosed amount of time? Absolutely. All it really takes is a bad day today and the Blue Jays having a good day today, and now you're out of the playoff picture. And that's something that I think, is going to, scare a lot of Yankee fans going forward, right? You need to be able to hold your head above water, and this offense really isn't capable of doing that. The Yankees right now, without Judge, without Bader, when you look at the lineups that they throw out, that type of roster wouldn't be better than the Blue Jays roster, or the Astros roster, or quite frankly, even the Angels roster, right? Like, we forget they have Ohtani and Trout. Like, it's not like they don't have superstar power. They've just struggled to put that together over the years, right? And so you need to be able to outplay them, or at least keep pace with them without Aaron Judge, despite having a less talented roster. Realistically, we're asking the Yankees to overperform their talent level right now. And that's something that you can't really expect. Right. So, it's not because Willie Calhoun exists that the Yankees aren't playing well. It's not because Jake Bauers is, on the roster that the Yankees aren't playing well. It's because they're hurt, right? And the issue is that, really, since this core has been put together in 2017, that's been the story of the Yankees. When this team is healthy, they're good, but when they're healthy, doesn't seem to come at the ideal times, and it seems to be their Achilles heel. I mean, look at last year. You can point to LeMahieu, Benintendi, and Carpenter getting hurt as the reasons why they didn't get past the Astros in the ALCS. It's unfortunate, but unless they get healthy, that's going to be the story of the Yankees. So I don't think you're going to look at the deadline. It's not a very star-packed deadline. Even Aaron Boone said this. He doesn't really think it's going to be a very exciting deadline. There are not a lot of big names that are going to be available. The big name people thought was going to be available was Ohtani, but number one, the Yankees are probably never going to be that involved in that. And number two, the Angels are in the thick of the playoff race, so I don't think he's getting moved. Is Cody Bellinger going to fix the lineup? I think he's good, but I don't know if he's going to fix everything. Is he going to make Jose Trevino a better hitter, or IKF a more consistent bat, or figure out Volpe's issues at the plate? No, right? So it's one of those things where you need the players on the roster to get healthier and better. And if they don't, well, this is probably what it's going to look like for most of the season.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. The Yankees have benefited over the last year or so from great pitching. When you really look at this team as a whole, that's really what's carried this team right now. This team has the best bullpen ERA in baseball, like by a mile. I want to say it's by like 0.2 points right now. And this offense for the majority of the year, outside of that, 64 and 28 start that they had last year, has completely faltered. And it's really disappointing because it kind of tails back to the offseason where we just did not add any significant bats whatsoever, coming out of a playoff series where they could not hit at all. They pitched well in that Houston series. They simply just could not hit at the right time. All they did was strike out during that series. And coming into this year, it shouldn't be seen as a surprise. Obviously, it is to us because we, want this team to be great and we want this team to hit, and we're kind of overshadowed by the greatness of Aaron Judge and what he brings to this lineup every day. But outside of that, the supplement pieces have not been great. And you guys know that I love Giancarlo Stanton, but he's not been great. Anthony Rizzo over the past month has been a shell of himself. DJ LeMahieu is just not the same guy. So right now, the biggest gripe with this team is the offense, and they simply can't hit. And I think that adding Harrison Bader back is going to be a huge piece, and obviously adding Judge back is crazy as well. I took a peek at the F4 leaderboards today. I think it's insane that Bader is third on the team at .8 F4 after playing only 26 games, guys. I think that is absolutely insane. Like over guys like DJ LeMahieu, over guys like Gleyber Torres. That's insane to me. And, going back to what I said, like this team has been carried by its pitching. They came out in the offseason, signed a huge starting pitcher who we haven't even seen yet. And it's just a bulk of that salary is just kind of held up in that pitching right now that we're not even really seeing. They didn't add a bat in the offseason. We're kind of seeing that now. The fact that we're relying on guys like, and I like guys like Jake Bauers, and I like guys like Billy McKinney and Willie Calhoun, who've really came in and relatively contributed to an offense that hasn't done too much. But I love those guys, but they shouldn't be here. That should not be the guys that we're relying on day in and day out. It should be a superstar type level player that they should have gone out and gotten. And right now you're seeing the effects of that, because I guarantee you right now, if you pull a star player off of a majority of teams in the American League, they will not falter like this Yankees offense has faltered. Look at the Texas Rangers. They had Corey Seager, who was out for a month and a half, and they went on their best stretch of the season and are in first place in the AL West. They did not lose a beat. That offense stayed straight the entire time. But this Yankees team right now, they cannot hit. The pitching has really carried them. I think if the pitching wasn't as good as it was, it would look way worse than it is right now. And you're really just missing these huge contributions from Judge, which honestly, you shouldn't really be relying on him to be your only sole contributor in an offense with this much money tied up in it. So it's disappointing just because the offense can't hit right now. And that's the soul and the root of this team's problems. And we'll see what happens when they get healthy and when Stanton really kind of comes back to form. I know after he gets hurt, he kind of goes like through a slump and has to get right again. And we'll see when that happens. And I hope the Rizzo neck thing is okay. And maybe DJ LeMahieu can be okay at some point. But you're really just waiting for Judge and Bader to come back and be those huge contributors in the middle of this order that can kind of help. And hopefully you can keep up with the rest of the guys in the American League, because it is just really ugly right now.
Yeah. I mean, look, one of the things that you said really stood out to me, and it's honestly one of the things that frustrates me the most. The fact that the Yankees have Giancarlo Stanton, DJ LeMahieu, Anthony Rizzo, even Donaldson. I mean, he's only 2021, was a very solid player with the Twins. There is no logic that can possibly explain why Aaron Judge leaves this team, gets injured, goes on the injured list, whatever it might be, and suddenly we're just a joke. Suddenly, like, we have some of the best players, some of the best names in baseball, and you cannot convince me these guys can't hit right now. You cannot convince me that these guys are not capable of hitting and performing at a high level. Look what Aaron Hicks is doing right now with the Baltimore Orioles, guys. If you sent Stanton, or if you send DJ LeMahieu, if you send any of these guys over to other teams, I bet you they'd be phenomenal. Why is it that they're not performing with the Yankees right now? What is going on with the Yankees that is making them lose their confidence, just fail to produce, as you said, falter? What is causing these issues? There is no logical explanation. Why does DJ LeMahieu have a 30-plus strikeout rate this season? This is an anomaly for him. We have never seen him this bad, offensively. He has been a shell of himself. He has been one of the more consistent hitters we've seen in a very long time on this team. There is no reason that he's suddenly taken 10 steps backward. Is he still hurt? Is his toe still bothering him? I don't know. I don't think that would increase his strikeout rate that significantly. He's running. He looks fine to me. I don't think he's injured. Like, this is a mental thing, guys. And I think that's what a lot of us are kind of struggling with to wrap our heads around, is that these players are not confident. These players are not feeling like their best selves. And that is a coaching problem to me. I don't think that this is anything more than that. I think that we have a lot of names. We have a lot of talent. We have a lot of great guys on this team. And we treat some of our players like absolute dog shit. And that's, excuse my language, but that's the truth. Look at our minor leaguers. Like, why? And look, I know the Esteban Florial quadruple A narrative. Why is he not getting a chance over guys that should not be on this team right now? IKF is awful, guys. He's a 73 WRC plus. His offense is essentially not a non-factor. He hasn't even been playing that much. Billy McKinney, he was a former former top prospect. So was Florial. Florial can play probably better defense, can steal bags, and he's only played in 30 MLB games. Like, are we really going to see Willie Calhoun is a historically awful major league player? Like, why? I'm not advocating for Esteban Florial. More so, what I'm trying to say is that we're giving opportunities to guys that have been historically bad. Our entire strategy, Brian Cashman's entire strategy, the last couple of years, last decade really, has relied on two things: hitting home runs, which has proven to be a bad strategy over and over and over again. You can't win a World Series that way. It's not sustainable. You can't hit 2-3 home runs a game. It's not a sustainable strategy. It's not possible to achieve. And we're seeing this year, the Yankees rank 4th in home runs. They rank average 14th, if not 15th now in total runs scored. So what are home runs doing for us? We're a top 5 home run team, but we're not scoring enough runs to win games. The strategy doesn't make sense. The math doesn't add up. Ryan, you and I had a really good conversation yesterday, and Sam, I'll catch you up on it. This team does not feel like they are committing to any strategy. It feels like a blend, a mashup of different things that they're trying to do. They don't want to commit to the analytics. They don't want to commit to their gut. It's a mix and mash of numbers and analytics and Aaron Boone making gut decisions. And we've seen the bullpen decisions he's made, and we've been like, what the hell are you doing, dude? Like, we've seen these things, right? The numbers would indicate you follow the strategy. And Ryan, you gave me a really good kind of breakdown of what the Tampa Bay Rays do. And I'll let you give a little bit of your insight on that. The Tampa Bay Rays utilizing that analytical prowess to make really good decisions and find players. Guys, we have more players on the injured list than some teams have payrolls. The Yankees have a double the payroll than the Orioles and the Rays combined. And look, I know a lot of people will make this argument. The Baltimore Orioles have been a bottom team for a long time. They're getting first round picks, this, that. Not every prospect's going to pan out. Not every top prospect's going to pan out. We've seen that with the Yankees pretty extensively over the last couple of years. And in fact, a lot of times, I think Volpe was a late first round pick. I think, he was at the bottom of the first round. You know what I mean? Judge, I think, was down there too. So like you see Nestor Cortez was like a 60th round pick. You know what I mean? The Orioles aren't great because they had a lot of really high round draft picks. They're really great because their developmental system is phenomenal. That's why they're really good. Not because they had high first round picks. The Yankees have had them in the past. They just haven't developed them properly. Esteban Florial, as far as they're concerned, is a complete bust. And he was one of the top prospects at one point. So Ryan, give me some insight into why you think this team is making poor decisions because they're not committing to any strategy. They feel like they're all over the place. Like there's just a lack of logic, a lack of actual committance to something, instead of just, it just doesn't feel like the communication is proper. It doesn't feel like things are naturally coming together because they're committing to one strategy.
Yeah, so, you mentioned the home runs point. The Yankees and the Blue Jays are actually the only 2 teams in the top 5. So you have the Braves, the Astros, and the Dodgers in the top 5 for home runs hit since 2017, and they've won World Series titles. The Yankees have not, right? So, it feels like there is an offensive difference between how the Blue Jays, the Dodgers, and the Astros are able to collect runs and how the Yankees are able to collect runs. I think part of that has to do with health. I think that does play a role, but I also do believe that they just assemble better talent in terms of offense, right? When we're talking about some of the guys who have featured in the Yankee lineups, right? A lot of those guys are players who are, 1 year or 1.5 year wonders and then kind of just flame out after. So it's hard to put together a consistent lineup year to year and win a lot of games. And also, as you mentioned, the Yankees are not great at getting on base. So a lot of these home runs end up being solo shots. I have a problem with the fact that certain guys have 3-0 green lights. In that Mets series, why is Jake Bauers allowed to swing on 3-0? I believe that any Yankee, even Stan at this point, Judge is the only guy who should have a 3-0 green light. If anyone on the Yankees swings on 3-0, they shouldn't play. They shouldn't play the rest of the game. I think it's that bad, right? I noticed people were mentioning, that Stan can swing on 3-0. I think it was a fastball right down the middle from Verlander. And I ran the math on it, actually. Pitches located there at that velocity with that movement actually get hit less frequently or have less ideal outcomes for a hitter than if you just take the pitch, because a 3-1 count typically results in a better outcome for a hitter than just swinging at that pitch. You open yourselves up to bad luck in terms of, you can hit a rocket that's just right at someone. That's exactly what happened, right? When you put a ball in play, there are a lot of different things that can happen. But, and I understand putting the ball in play is valuable, and I'm not arguing that you should just strike out. But, if you put a pitcher in a situation where they have to throw 3 straight strikes, typically they're not capable of doing it. Throwing strikes is really hard, and people don't really understand that it's really difficult to do, and pitchers have a hard time doing it. And also, if you're Justin Verlander, you're not trying to just throw 3 fastballs down the middle. You would rather walk Giancarlo Stanton than throw him a hanging slider. So from that perspective, it's just better for him to go out and take the walk. It's better for most of the guys on this team, not named Aaron Judge. Really, anyone not named Aaron Judge should just force themselves to take a walk. And you mentioned the not consistent strategy with their farm system. In terms of quality of contact and, batted ball data, swing decisions. So this is a metric called BAGS Plus. It's batter game score. And it essentially takes into account all of the things a hitter does at the plate. It takes into account your line drive rate, your home runs, your ability to make contact, all that stuff. Oswald Peraza is ranked as a top 12 hitter in all of AAA, right? And this is considering, guys like Fernando Tatis Jr., who, is not a AAA player. He just rehabbed in AAA or rehabbed in AAA. He was suspended. So I don't know if that's exactly the same thing. But my point more so is that, Oswald Peraza is one of the best hitters in AAA. He makes a lot of contact. He has 25 home runs his last 86 games played, spanning back to last season, 32 steals, and the guy's not going to be able to play at the major league level. And I don't know when he's going to play at the major league level. It's not that the Yankees don't have talent in the farm system. When I do the prospect reports, I mean, there are 5, 6. I think they have the most pitchers in minor league baseball with a strikeout rate above 25%, with at least 50 innings pitched. It's not close either. They have 7. I don't think anyone else comes close to that. They have talent in the farm system. We talk about guys like Jason Dominguez, Austin Wells. There are other guys in there that are pretty talented, at least in Somerset. They have Tyler Hardiman, TJ Rumfield, Trey Sweeney. You mentioned Florial. I don't know if I'm big on Florial. I've never really been a Florial guy. But the idea or the process more so of, letting whatever you feel like is your talent at the minor league level actually play, I think is really important, right? It's not, you're not going to be able to build a contender with developing prospects and just trading them. How many guys in the Dodgers, are homegrown and are impact pieces? Look at the Braves. The Braves are, unbelievably ran. They run the NL East, right? The Mets have had some pretty good teams. They had a 100-win team. The Phillies won the pennant. The Nationals won a World Series pretty recently, and they were pretty good in the later part of the 2010s. And the Braves continue to just run that division. That's because they have plenty of homegrown talent. Acuna, Albies, Kyle Wright, Spencer Strider, I'm trying to think, the Michael Harris the third. You have plenty of guys, right? The Yankees, who's the Yankees' last homegrown, like a star player? It's really Aaron Judge, and that's it. Severino's dealt with injury issues. I understand that's an unfortunate situation. I'm not blaming Brian Cashman for him getting hurt all the time. And Torres has been a solid player, so I will give them credit for that too. But is their roster, whenever they have a deficiency in any part of their lineup, we don't sit here and say, all right, here's the top prospect you call up. It's all right, you got to trade those guys and take a risk on a player. Josh Donaldson doesn't become a New York Yankee if the Yankees have a competent replacement at third base. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa doesn't become a Yankee if Oswald Peraza was given that chance at shortstop, right? So, we're talking about multiple situations and multiple trades and free agent moves. They don't have to trade for Joey Gallo if they actually had a farm system that they could produce an outfielder from. And I understand trading for Gallo at the time. I'm not saying that, at the time it was a bad decision, but, you would like to have Ezekiel Duran right now. He's pretty good with the Texas Rangers, right? So, end of the day, you don't have to make so many trades. And when you make a lot of trades, you're going to put yourself in position to lose a lot of trades as well. If you have a 50% win rate on 10 trades, you can lose 5 trades. If you have a 50% win rate on 2 trades, you'll just lose 1 trade. So end of the day, you open yourself up to a lot more variance and a lot more bad outcomes when you have to trade so many good prospects in order to get talent because you can't develop them yourself. So the Yankees need to do better in terms of playing their actual prospects, guys they develop. If they're confident in these guys, if they're confident in their farm system, which I'm confident in their farm system, I need to see them play. I need to know, like, I'm hearing Oswald Peraza is a great defender at shortstop. I need to see it, right? Like, if he's that good, he should be there, right? Jason Dominguez, I think, is an excellent player. I'm not saying you call up Jason Dominguez, but when the dude is ready, he should be here. Austin Wells has killed AA for a year now. Why is he in AA? I hear people say, they have 3 catchers in AAA. No disrespect to Ben Rortvedt, Rodolfo Duran, or Carlos Narvaez. They may turn out to be good major leaguers at some point. None of them are more important to the organization than Austin Wells. None of them should be more important to the organization than Austin Wells. The Braves wouldn't do that. The Dodgers wouldn't do that. The Rays wouldn't do that. The Astros certainly wouldn't do that. And that's why the Rays have won the American League East. They're going to win it this year. So 3 out of 4 years that we'll have won the American League East. That's embarrassing. That team in those 4 years probably have a combined payroll that's less than the Yankees payroll right now. So I don't know how you feel, Sam, but I just feel like at this point the organization's just getting outclassed right now, and that's an issue. You spend too much money for you to be outclassed.
Yeah, it's crazy. The first thought that came up in my head was the Joey Gallo trade with Ezekiel Duran. I feel like you would absolutely love to have a guy like Ezekiel Duran on your team right now who has a 850 plus OPS for a guy like Joey Gallo who literally came in and did nothing. And in hindsight, I'm not going to look back on that deal and be like, we shouldn't have traded for Joey Gallo, because at the time it was a need. We needed a guy in the outfield. That was a necessity. And obviously he faltered, and it is what it is. But like, you would love to have a guy like that. And with this farm system, with these prospects, what they do is they take them at the trade deadline, they deal them away and do whatever. It doesn't matter. With the prospects that this team has dealt away, there have been so many stories of guys that have developed into, consistent major leaguers, and really guys that can really play on this team and become major contributors. And with, there's like teams like the Astros and the Dodgers, look at the Houston Astros right now. The amount of injuries that they've dealt with and the amount of free agency signings that they've seen go away, they're not making splash big moves. The only real splash big move that they've made over the past 5 years was Jose Abreu this offseason, and he hasn't been awesome. The past month he's been great, but he started horribly. So outside of that, all they've done is run through their farm system, bring different guys up, and really just use bit part utility players. And they've been in the World Series pretty much every single year since 2017. This is a team that knows how to develop talent. They use them. They play them every single year, and it does not matter. Same thing with the Los Angeles Dodgers. You look at them, they lost a severe amount of core pieces from that team. They lost Trey Turner. They lost Cody Bellinger, who was an MVP, perennial MVP candidate for them for such a long time. So they were able to develop that talent and then bring these guys up and play them. And right now, the Yankees do not do that. The Yankees' philosophy is go out, spend money, at the trade deadline, trade for an outfielder. He walks in the offseason. You're reset at the exact same thing every single year. And I like the fact that you guys were talking about the home run thing, because when we talk about the home run thing, I look back at the 2019 Minnesota Twins. Do you guys remember in 2019 when the Yankees and Twins were going back and forth to see who could hit the most home runs by any team in a single season? The Twins, I think, won that race by 20 home runs and beat the Yankees. I think it was 320 home runs. Yeah, the Yankees went out and clapped that team in the ALDS. It was a bad series. So that strategy does not pan out every single time. And when you have a team that simply focuses on hitting home runs and hitting those solo shots and not getting on base, it's not going to work out. And that's been this team's philosophy for such a long time. You guys mentioned the other teams, the Houston Astros, the Los Angeles Dodgers. Those teams get on base, and they don't have one-dimensional players that only hit home runs consistently and over again. They have guys that legitimately get on base. Willie Calhoun right now is third on this team in OBP. He's getting on base at a 306 clip. That is bad. So I just think from an organizational standpoint, as for this team's hitting, something's got to change. It cannot be this home run, oriented approach like the solo shots, because I don't want to continuously win games 2-1. I want to be able to put up a 15 spot like the Red Sox just did the other night. And I can't believe I'm talking about the last place Red Sox and talking about what an offensive strategy should be. So I just think with this organization, prospect-wise, I just think they need to have more faith in their young guys when they see developments like that and not go out and just spend huge on a bat. Give somebody a chance. And from a hitting standpoint, I just think it has to be completely reworked, and they just can't do what they're doing right now. It's really just dry and stale, and I don't know how they figured out how it just won't work in the long run.
I mean, look, the truth is we need to boost our on-base rate significantly. You know what I mean? That's the truth. We have one of the worst on-base rates in baseball, and that's just not sustainable. We're not disciplined to the plate. We're striking out too much, or we're making weak soft contact. And, the truth is we're a team mainly composed of reserves at times. You know what I mean? We see some of those lineups. Guys, Jake Bauers is leading off for us regularly right now. That's really bad. Jake Bauers is not a starting player at the MLB level. He's a fine supplementary piece. I'll give him so much credit for stepping in and making an impact and a positive one. He has a positive WRC plus offensively this year. He's had a couple of really big games, but there's no way you can convince me that Jake Bauers as a leadoff hitter is indicative of a good team. Good teams, this would not be the case, right? I'd rather just force feed Anthony Volpe as a leadoff hitter at this point than have Jake Bauers, because the truth is, Jake Bauers is not the future of this team. He's not going to be on this team long term. Who has to lead off now? DJ LeMahieu has a 30% on base clip. It's not enough, but I'd still rather him be our leadoff hitter than him batting. Was he batting fourth or third, fifth these days? I just don't get the lineups. I don't get the decision making sometimes. I don't get the refusal to give opportunities. And Ryan, you posted this morning about why we shouldn't give up on Josh Donaldson just yet. His numbers are trending in the right direction. But is there a case to say that, why isn't Oswald Peraza up right now? Why isn't he having a live position battle at shortstop with Anthony Volpe? Maybe they just gave him a chance to win it back. And I don't think they want to do that, because then they acknowledge the fact that Volpe is struggling. But this team is just built on pride. It's built on Cashman saving face. It's built on Boone saving face. The decisions they make, then they force feed IKF and they force us Donaldson. They force Volpe. And look, I think Volpe's going to be a very good player. He's just going through a very tough time because he's 22 years old and still getting used to the MLB. But why is good teams make decisions that, have to be made to be winning teams? Ryan, you said yesterday, the Rays, if a guy is 0.2 points off of a grading sheet, they're trading his ass. They don't give a crap. They're committed to the strategy. They're committed to the plan. The Yankees are so hung up on personality, so hung up on gut, values and not committing to the analytics or not committing one way or another, that everything is up in the air. No one knows what they're going to do. And everyone's being disrespected. Like, how many of these players are being disrespected? You said yesterday, Aaron Hicks coming out and saying bad things about Boone, like, are really saying, like, I need opportunities. Like, you have to give me chances. You can't this and that. Like, players don't do that to their manager if things are going well behind the scenes, even if they are struggling. You know what I mean? Like, this is not a team that feels successful. It feels like the culture's diminishing. It feels like it's deteriorating. And that's not what we're used to, guys. Like, as a Yankee fan, I know you guys can stand by this and say, this team feels like a winning team most years. This team feels like we have the vibes, we have the culture, we got everything feels like we are ready to win. We have the capacity to do so. This year is one of the few years that I feel like we don't have that. Like, I feel like we don't have that desire to win those tough games. We don't make those big comebacks. We don't fight when it means something. We don't, have any source of life without Judge or Bader, and like, the injuries hurt. And the Yankees have supplemented, have gotten heroic performances, guys, heroic from some of those reserves in the past. Like, you remember Urshela stepping in and suddenly becoming a starter, Luke Voigt going crazy and leading the league in home runs in 2020 in the COVID season. Like, you remember these guys stepping up when they weren't supposed to and just carrying this squad at times. No one's doing that for us now, because it's not sustainable. You can't rely on backups to be above average starters. Like, doesn't logically make sense. But every year we find ourselves hoping to God Cashman stumbles on a gem that's going to lift this team up out of the trenches, out of the abyss, when we're down significant talent. And this team always is. Judge is down, Stanton's down, Bader's down, Rodon is down, bullpen pieces. We're just getting Ian Hamilton back, hopefully. You know what I mean? Like, this is not a team that we can ever commit to and say we're going to stay healthy or we're going to be a good team long term, because we can't stay healthy. And I don't even know who to blame at this point. You know what I mean? The only person you can blame is Cashman for continuously bringing in players who have really bad health histories, guys. Frankie Montas, I want to forget about it, but I also don't want to forget about it, because the reason behind trading and look, traded a starting pitcher who's struggling at the MLB level, but the most discerning and concerning thing to me is that we did not do the proper due diligence on Frankie Montas. We traded for a guy who was injured and now is injured even more than he was. That is not, you can't do that, man. These are the professional medical staffs. You can't go out and trade for guys who are hurt and can't impact you. Like, what is going on? What is going on with this team? Like, there's nothing that you can say to me that makes any logical sense, because they won't even answer the questions that the reporters ask them. They don't actually answer anything. Like, oh, we thought we did a good job, or we thought this guy was healthy, or this and that. Frankie Montas blatantly came out and said I was not 100%. The Yankees thought he was, but the players said he wasn't. Like, the disconnect, the lack of communication is evident to me. I just don't get it. But guys, I want to wrap it there, because we could go on all day complaining about what's going on right now. And the best we can hope for is things turn around. They figure it out. The guys we need to step up. Everyone's got to step up. The pitching's been good. Like, aside from, the other day, pitching's been very good. The starting pitching's been excellent, I would say. The run production hasn't been. But I'm always happy to hear perspectives and thoughts below in the YouTube comments. As always, my friends, make sure to like and subscribe. We'll see you guys in the next one. Make sure to watch the doubleheader today, because we need some wins really, really badly. We need it bad. But appreciate you guys as always. We'll catch you guys on the next Fireside Yankees episode.